Hello YouTubers out there, this is Jerry Saravia at the movies. So today we are discussing Mortal Kombat, a reboot of the original Mortal Kombat movie from 1995, which is unseen by me. And of course, prior to that, the video games, which have also been unplayed by me. So I approached a Mortal Kombat without knowing anything about it, other than the fact that it has to do with martial arts mayhem, and a lot of combat scenes, and of course you get a lot of that in Mortal Kombat. Now, I don't mind fantasy martial arts movies. In fact, there are some I really admire, not to mention films like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or Hero starring Jet Li from back in 2002. And I know there are some others. However, watching this movie, I just as soon not see another Mortal Kombat movie. This movie is essentially one combat scene after another. If there aren't training montages, there is a lot of bloody and gory combat scenes, a lot of fight scenes, a whole lot. Not to mention the grandiose and consistent use of electrical charges, fire, and ice emanating from one's body. Which sets this movie on some hyper-fueled, hyperactive, hyper-caffeinated state of excess. So essentially, if you want bloody hand-to-hand combat in a very hard R rating, by the way, which, from what I understand, mimics the video games, which are very bloody, then you'll get that. That is the soul of this movie. But there is nothing else. It's essentially how to punch, kick, stab anyone to smithereens, but you don't care about any of the characters on screen. Now, there is this nifty prologue that begins in Japan 1612, and it's a very serene picture of a very domestic a sense of real domesticity, if for lack of a better word, and that has to do with the greatest ninja of all time, according to this movie, according to the mythology, which is Hanzo Hasashi, played by Hiroyuki Sanada. And this sort of serenity in the film, which is set up rather nicely, at least for the first 2 minutes, then quickly evolves into, or devolves, depending on how you feel, into one fight scene after another, rather quickly. He is the character Hanzo, and these are spoilers, so sorry for that, is killed by rival Bai Han, played by Joe Taslim, who later becomes Sub-Zero, which is a moniker I can definitely like. And anyway, Hanzo's entire family is practically killed except for a baby that's hidden under a floorboard by his wife, who's of course killed. So thanks to the survival of the baby, who's whisked away by some mysterious stranger with glowing eyes, the Hanzo lineage extends to the present day with an MMA fighter named Cole Young, which apparently is new to this Mortal Kombat mythology. This is not a character that's existed before, played by Louis Tan. And he loses more fights than he wins. He has a family he must protect from Bai Han, once again Sub-Zero, who has this rather cool habit of creating ice that envelops an entire area within seconds. And don't get too close or you'll be in a suspended animation, practically die. And that is if, he freezes you. Now, Cole is trying to evade this Sub-Zero without knowing anything about what the hell is going on, which I imagine would be how anyone would react. This MMA fighter is not aware of his lineage. And by the way, a lot of his lineage is not, I don't think, given enough exposure in this story. So you kind of forget that Cole Young is even related in some way to, or has this ancestral lineage. Anyway, he tries to avoid this guy, and he's rescued by some ally in the Special Forces who's been keeping a close eye on Cole Young. This guy is then, from the Special Forces, has his arms amputated by Sub-Zero. Okay? Then, Cole leaves with his family and is told by the guy from Special Forces to seek out a woman in Special Forces named Sonya Blade, played by Jessica McNamee, who's holding a prisoner named Kano, played by Josh Lawson, a captured Australian mercenary who can't stop talking. So apparently, Cole Young and Kano bear the red dragon mark on their bodies, which enables them specific superpowers and proves the existence of Mortal Kombat and a future tournament that we never actually see in this movie. So just to keep track of this, so you understand, I know the Mortal Kombat fans would know, I don't, but there are two parallel universes. And this exposition is delivered within the first 20 minutes, all this nonsense, mythology, so that it's hard to really keep track of one character from the other because they're all expendable. First of all, Cole Young, played by Louis Tan, is just not interesting. There's nothing about him that is interesting other than being an MMA fighter, and not a particularly great one. The other characters, except for Kano, played by Josh Lawson, who is... he's allowed to let loose and form a personality of some kind, and he seems to always be on some measure of tongue-in-cheek that the movie otherwise lacks. So you're not sure if he is on their side or not. He kind of plays both sides, and that's an interesting character. And if the character had been him, maybe played by an Asian, so an Asian mercenary of some kind that has that ancestral lineage, not to say having a white actor doing it, I'm just saying having some sort of Asian actor be the, this character, who would be kind of like the Han Solo type, in a way, that would have been interesting, but the movie doesn't explore enough of that. This character is the most interesting character. He has a personality. The rest of these people have no personality whatsoever. Mortal Kombat essentially is all bloody combat, with knives and chains thrust either into bellies, or someone's eye, or used to decapitate monsters, or any of the specter beings that we see, including the one Sub-Zero. Too much of this goes on far too repetitively. There's no respite from all the noise and incessant music score that features more electronic beats per minute than a song by the Bee Gees. And the last 40 minutes are it's just an insane amount of fights. And again, none of these characters I could care less. I mean, there's just no sense of jeopardy in this movie, no real sense of joy or fun to it. It just sort of exists. It sits on the screen. It really does. But if you like that sort of thing without a story, or a story that's given only some exposition and then kind of completely abandoned, then this may be the movie for you, but I certainly do not recommend it. This movie is a soulless video game movie. It's essentially, to me, it's kind of like playing a video game in a sense, where you have all these characters that are set up and then you have to kind of motivate them to do the next bit, whatever it is that you choose, kind of choosing their path for them. I imagine is how the video games would be, aside from all the bloody hand-to-hand combat. But that's all there is here. There is nothing else. So count me out from any further Mortal Kombat movies. Now, if any of you out there have seen the 1995 film and think that this is a lot better and actually fun, then tell me about it, and I just might review it on a future show. But don't expect me to watch any more Mortal Kombat movies from here on in. This is the first and only one I've seen, and I am not really psyched to see any more. But those are just my feelings on it, and this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.